Welcome to the Luxury Listing Specialist Podcast with Michael LaFido, where top luxury agents reveal their best practices, plus interviews with real estate industry influencers, thought leaders, and luxury marketing experts. You'll come away from each episode with new strategies and tactics to dominate high-end homes in any market. And now for the latest episode of Luxury Listing Specialist. Here's your host, luxury real estate expert, coach, and trainer, Michael LaFido.
Welcome back to another episode of the Luxury Listing Specialist Podcast. You're in the right place if you're an agent, you're a team leader, you're a broker owner, and you're looking to differentiate yourself and hopefully increase your average sale price of both a buyer and a seller you represent. Just like previous episodes, we bring on various specialists that might not be luxury specific, and today is one of those days. But before I introduce our guest, just a reminder, if you are getting value from today's podcast or previous podcast, leave us a like, leave us a 5-star review. Again, that's how we get found on search engines, and referrals are our biggest compliment that we can receive. So I appreciate everybody that's listening. Again, we release 4 podcasts a month, and we're always looking for amazing guests. So if you want to nominate somebody or perhaps even nominate yourself, please shoot us an email, michael@marketingluxurygroup.com, michael@marketingluxurygroup.com. And don't forget, every Friday we're doing our free trainings, Luxury Fridays. You can go to luxuryfridays.com, and we're doing them via Zoom. We're streaming them live on YouTube, Facebook, and other platforms. But if you go to our YouTube channel, Marketing Luxury Group, and subscribe, you will get notified as soon as we have an upcoming Luxury Friday. Again, I'm your host, Michael LaFido. Without further ado, I want to bring on today's guest. As I mentioned previously, we bring on top luxury agents, top luxury teams, strategic partners, lead generation services that will make your job easier as an agent or team leader or broker owner. And a lot of the topics these days and a lot of the buzzwords when you go to these big conferences or if you're on these virtual trainings is about team, building a team. And today I'm really excited to bring on my guest, Gogo Bethke. She is currently a resident in Michigan, but in the middle of perhaps moving to a warmer climate. But I want to bring on Gogo. She can tell you a little bit about her backstory, but bottom line is she's amazing at building teams and organizations and helping agents, support agents to attract the type of agents from a culture and a production standpoint that you want in your team or your office. And again, this applies to all agents, no matter what brokerage you're with. So Gogo Bethke, thank you for joining me today. Tell everybody a little bit more about yourself.
Hey, thank you. Thank you for having me. Well, originally from Romania, my real name is Gyöngyvér, so nobody can pronounce it. They call me Gogo in the US, right? I'm Hungarian by nationality, though. I'm 100% Hungarian. And moved to the US in 2003. Didn't really have the idea of I'm going to be a realtor one day. So that came in 2011. It wasn't even my idea. It was my neighbor's idea. She thought I would make a great realtor. And at the time, I was a stay-at-home mom. I was watching HGTV all day long. So I thought, what a great idea, right? Like, how hard can it be? Show 3 houses, you sell one of them, sign me up, right? So I did that, and very quickly I realized, hold on a minute, like, where are these leads coming from? Like, where are these buyers and sellers that you see on TV going to like hit me up, right? I had no sphere. If you think about it, being from Romania, I was 21 when I moved here. So I don't have high school friends or college friends or any of that. I didn't know anyone on this continent when I moved here. So the sphere was very quickly out. Sales experience was out. Money was out because I had none, right? So it wasn't like I'm going to buy Zillow leads or run Facebook ads. Facebook ads weren't even a thing then, right? So I kind of just had to figure out of like, okay, how am I going to make a name for myself and who is my ideal buyer and seller? Where they at? And for me, it was Facebook. That was the only thing at the time. We didn't really have the Instagrams and the LinkedIns at the time. And so I just started a Facebook business page called Gogo's Real Estate. And I kind of just owned the truth on there. I let the world know I'm a new realtor. I'm just trying to make a name for myself. And so that's how it started in 2014, 15, probably, when I decided to take my party over to Instagram. I still do Facebook, don't get me wrong, but Instagram, I just figured I got to a point in my career where I needed to vent a little. little bit. And I figured my clients are on Facebook. So if I went on Instagram, right, then I don't know why I thought they're not going to follow me on Instagram, right?
Sure.
So I just took the party over to Instagram, and then I changed the tone, right? Like who I'm talking to, my audience. So on Facebook, I still to today talk to my local audience, to my local buyers and sellers, right? My potential buyers and sellers. On Instagram, I talk to the agents because I needed to like get everything off of my shoulder. And then, so it's kind of almost like two different audiences under the same brand, if that makes sense. So on Instagram, it's mostly how to help an agent, just like you said, help you sell the next home, help you build a brand with the power of social media. So everything that I learned, the good, bad, and the ugly, I always share. So that's how it kind of grew into what it is today. Then I turned my knowledge into two different courses. So I have a Gogo's Bootcamp for social media, and then I have one for agent attraction. I have a local team. They do all of the deals. So my goal for this year is to not be involved in a single transaction. If I can make that happen, then I will reach my goal for 2022. So I think it's everybody's, I don't know, I can't talk for everybody, I guess, but for most agents, the goal isn't to be on the hamster wheel for the rest of your life, is to be able to leverage and build a team where you can live that life that you wanted this whole time, right? Without having to trade time for money. So that's my local team. We call it GRAT, or Gogo's Real Estate Team. We have a listing agent and a buyer's agent. All of our leads come organic, so we don't buy leads. Everything that we do, it comes organic from my social media sources. Then I switched to EXP like yourself, and now in what we call Team Gogo is our EXP organization, agents that decide to bring their businesses over to EXP nationwide. And or internationally. We have agents in 5 different countries and 40 different states. There's almost 800 of us that we call the Team Gogo organization.
Wow.
We did over last year, we started the year with 319 agents. We ended it at 742. And we did over $1 billion in production. So if you want to talk luxury, I think we can, right?
Wow.
We did a few transactions in 2021. So that's on the real estate side. I also own a title company and a TC company and a VA company and all of that. But
Gotcha.
yeah.
So a couple of things I want to circle back to that you said. So again, thank you so much for sharing your story. So you've been licensed now for 11 years, doing some amazing things here, built a huge organization about agent success, right? Helping agents be more successful. One thing I believe you said is working, you might have said working smarter, not harder, or leveraging time maybe is one thing you talked about. And so one of the things that we always talk about to agents is being more productive and perhaps making more money. And sometimes people get turned off by the money. But I like to always remind agents, money freedom equals time freedom equals relationship freedom. So you've built a team up where you can invest in your team. You can leverage and delegate buyers agents, sellers agents. So talk to me a little bit about, and that's different for everybody, Gogo. Some agents, it might be, hey, when I make 6 figures, I'm going to bring on an assistant, or when I fill in the blank. There's no magic formula, so to speak. But for those that are listening out here, what was a tipping point for you where you didn't want to grab all those buyers and those sellers, but you said, you know what, my time's important. Maybe I don't want to give up the weekends for the kids or work an open house. For you specifically, what was the boiling point how did the light go off where you realized, hey, I got to leverage other people's time and energy for me to build this?
Well, it's a few things, right? I mean, eventually you get to a point where you can't possibly take on another deal and keep your sanity. So that was for me at 52 personal deals a year. I was like, if I have to sell another freaking house, I will shoot somebody or myself, right? So I was like, I can't. And I love people, and I never wanted to get to a point where I don't like people anymore, right? And there's a different side to people when bottom line is involved. Mm-hmm. And I'm good at being a punching bag. I'm really good at it, right? For a commission, I used to look at people that for 12 grand, I'll be your best friend for 90 days. $14,000, your best friend 90 days. 30, I'll be your best friend for 90 days, right? I looked at everybody as a commission, right? And then I can do if my kids are starving, I can do anything, right?
Right.
So, but you get to the point where not even for the next commission would I put up with asshole. Excuse my French if I can't say that on this call.
No, yeah.
So you get to the point where I'm like, okay, so is it money or like, don't get me wrong. I love money. I came to this country for the American dream, right? And I want to reach the absolute highest. And some people look at me like I'm crazy. The screensaver on my phone is a helipad on my yacht. So that tells you then I'll have a helipad on my yacht, then I'll be doing just fine, right?
Yeah.
So if I
These
came
are
to
reminders, right?
Exactly. And then the other reminder, you can change your password to things to what you want. FYI, it reminds you every time you enter it. But so I have like crazy dreams and expectations, but you can't possibly be trading time for money for the rest of your life, or you never reach those goals.
Yeah.
You're going to hit a personal ceiling, no matter how good you are. I couldn't personally do more than 52 deals a year without losing my sanity, and without losing the quality because of the quantity. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And you're as good as your reputation. So as soon as your quality gives, referrals stop, there goes your business. Right.
Yeah.
So I wanted to make sure that we can keep the quality, I can keep my sanity, and I can keep the money.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
So that's when I started a team initially at Real Estate One. So I was with Real Estate One for 7.5 years, Keller Williams for 8 months, and then EXP since 2018, November.
Okay.
So at Real Estate One is where I started my first team, but I didn't really know what I was doing there. Didn't really have teams there. So I was kind of winging it, right? Well, that team came over to Keller with me, and then both of them quit on the same day. So I didn't have a team.
Okay.
But that's
now let's talk about that real quick. If you don't mind being transparent, was it the onboarding provided by that Keller Williams office why they quit? Was it just anxiety? People don't like change? Was there something internally looking back where maybe you could have helped during that transition? I'm curious if you don't mind me.
I think it was a little bit of everything, right? For example, at that time, we didn't really have a very strong contract. And I do believe that having a strong contract with really specific instructions is really important, because otherwise it's like, no, you said this, and no, you said that. And then the broker has to decide how the commission to be split. And, the leads and the systems weren't really automated and systematized. It was a shit show.
Okay,
right?
Sure.
But we learn as we grow.
So managing everybody's expectations, black and white, get it in writing, get it in a contract form, because when money's involved, right, that's when it hits the fan. Is that fair to say?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay.
So today, they don't even start right on well, first of all, I'm not hiring. So I never wanted to have a mega icon team. I just wanted to do cute little local deals, right? I don't want an adult daycare. I don't want to babysit adults. I don't want the responsibility. I don't want any of that, right? I rather take my time and energy where I love to spend it, which is coaching and training and helping others see the results that I was able to accomplish. But I also want to walk away from this that comes organically, right? So I seriously have no cost on my team. I have no cost. I don't have an office, as I like to joke and say, I have a printer. That's my cost of doing business on my real estate side of things. And the goal this year is 75 deals. So with the two agents, we'll do about 75 deals this year.
Yeah. So
leads come for free. I don't have an office. You know what I mean? So that is no cost. And I don't buy the leads or anything. So truly there is no cost on that side of the business. We have VAs that help us. And I have an operations manager. That is my only cost to kind of help us overlook, everything that we are doing. So I like to build businesses on organic social media marketing. So all of my businesses are built on that. I feel like.
So when you say organic, for those that are listening, there's paid traffic and organic, right? Organic is naturally providing great content. And hopefully, are there any tips for those that are listening from an organic standpoint? Maybe there's some listening right now that they provide some type of content, whether it be Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. Any tips on tagging or partnering up with strategic partners? How do you get more traction organically, in your opinion?
I mean, how much time you got? I wish it was like a 2-second. Everybody's going to get loaded in 2 seconds, but it's in such
if you were to give one tip, how's that? One tip to increase organic.
So if it's one tip, then you're not selling real estate. You're selling yourself and your services.
Don't think like a real estate agent, think like a marketer.
Even if you look at mine, You have a Grant Cardone shirt on, right? You have the 10X
Yes,
shirt on.
yes.
So have you seen, I mean, Grant is very much so in real estate, right? He does all of his investment properties and all that, all the syndication that he's looking for investors and yada, yada. Do you ever see the actual syndication on his profile? No.
Right.
It's always Grant. Grant, 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 right? And whatever Grant sells, we buy, right? So he sells you the opportunity, but he always sells Grant. He doesn't sell 123 Main Street in Ohio. That's a $150 apartment building, right? He sells Grant that sells an opportunity to invest into a syndication with him, right? So where most realtors go wrong is by promoting that last listing, the newest open house, my newest listing. This is just what hit the market, and they're never in it, right? Then you're just as good as any other realtor because I don't know who sold that listing. You're not in it. I don't know if you're a guy or a girl, right? So agents need to learn to promote themselves. That's rule number one.
That's great. One of the things I always say is shy real estate agents have skinny kids. You can't be shy in this industry, right? You got to let people know what you do and pass out your business card. And that's great advice, Gogo. Thank you. So continue to build your brand. Don't be shy. Some people have put on COVID 15 pounds, or your gray hairs are coming through, or whatever it might be. But your authenticity also comes through, right? When people see you.
I mean, this one is fake. I didn't have a front tooth last year for 8 months. So I have tons of videos on Instagram and all the places that I don't have a front tooth. And that's what I had to rock it, right? Like for 3 days, don't get me wrong, I had a pity party and I was like, oh my gosh, they call me the social media queen. So it's like, oh my gosh, I'm the social media queen of real estate and I don't have a front tooth. And I won't have a front tooth for 8 months. Right. So I was like, wow.
So you addressed it and rolled with it and tied in some humor, self-deprecating humor into things.
Yeah, the truth is the knowledge is in my head. Do I have a front tooth or not? Can I sell what I sell?
Right.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm. I didn't get dumber. I just lost a tooth.
That's a great story. I always say the same thing when I'm in front of a big audience and people are in the front row. I go, those of you in the front row, you can see I got one nostril bigger than the other. I got one eye that doesn't open as big as the other. Right. So, letting people know that. Yeah. See, we both do. Yeah.
Hi, it's Michael LaFido here with a quick break from the podcast. If you are committed to increasing your average sale price and you want to work smarter, not harder, then you want to visit luxurylistingspecialist.com for more information on the Lux designation along with some free resources. And now let's get back to the show.
So talk about, so you said sell the opportunity. You used that term. I wrote that down. So, you're the opportunity, Gogo. So what are some objections that you have to overcome when people want you, but you're building this organization and you're putting systems in place, which we know, and you're having various leaders within the organization that whether it be onboarding or, something comes up through day-to-day real estate transactions where they're not coming to you all the time, because how are you managing people's expectations within your big organization?
Yeah, so I mean, there are two different kinds, right? So Grat is our local team. So on there, when I get calls, I'm just upfront with them and say, hey, listen, let me tell you how we work, right? How we work. And then I'll just explain that initial call. And I say, hey, Clancy's our listing specialist. She's going to be giving you a call within 5 minutes and she's going to take it from here. If it's a buy side, hey, Kiri's our buyer specialist. She's going to take it from here. But I usually started, let me tell you how we work. Right. So then I set the expectations right up front. So they know I am not the one who's going to come out to a listing appointment. I am not the one who's going to be sitting your open house. I'm not the one I am here to help you market and negotiate because those are my two skills, but I don't physically have to be there for that job. Right. Yeah. So in order for us to do our job, there's a system in place for that. So then they have no other expectations. They know I'm not the one who's going to show up at a listing appointment. My team will. And my team, takes it from there and they handle it. I really only get involved if I have to. They usually say, don't make me send Gogo on you.
That's great. So managing, that's how that works. Managing expectations, communication and managing expectations. No different than you mentioned a listing specialist on your team. That listing specialist has to manage the seller's expectations as far as how long the home will be on the market, what the actual market value is based on comparables and the market conditions, not based on what they think they should get or what they want to get from it. So managing expectations comes through communication.
Yeah. Yeah, because you have to know, and that comes down to, right, you have to know your hourly rate. You have to know how much money you make in an hour. And that's how you're going to be able to say, okay, if I go out there in person, just to sign docs, seriously, it's going to be an hour and a half plus driving, right? Just to chit chat for an hour. Like I'm negative $3,000 right there, right? Just for go out. So if the client is adamant that you go in person, then you show them what that's cost. And then they decide, oh yeah, no, I'll take your team. That's good. It's all good. Right? Because it has to worth my time, and it just doesn't anymore. So not even a luxury listing that worth my personal time anymore. So that's why we have things in places for that. So that's the local team. Now on Team Gogo, I do most of the coaching and mentoring. That's my favorite thing to do, is help other agents reach their goals. So on that one, I really don't necessarily, my time invested is not necessarily physically present. Does that make sense? Because all of our agents, we're in 40 different states and 5 different countries. So we just kind of come through Zoom. I can do that from home. I can do that from the beach. Sure. So that side of my business is 100% online.
Okay. You talk about time. So that's very helpful, by the way. So 2 different businesses run very similar as far as putting systems into place, leveraging time. But you mentioned time and managing expectations. So for those of you that are listening, I used to have this exercise I would do. There's 52 weeks in a year. Just say if you take 2 weeks off, maybe not continuously, but let's say you take 2 weeks off throughout the course of a year, keep it really simple. That's 50 weeks left in the year. If there's a 40-hour work week, and some of you laughing at that, at 40 hours in a real estate work week, that's 2,000 hours in the year, work hours. Now, if you work 20-hour work weeks, divide that in half, that's 1,000 work hours. That's how you figure out whatever your financial goal is, and you divide it by that number. That's how you figure out your hourly rate. So Gogo mentioned if she's driving an hour and a half, even on a luxury listing, okay, so that's her hourly rate there, $1,298. Okay, so for her, she's got to ask herself, if it's 2 hours, am I going to make $2,600? You know, so that is awesome. So I'm glad you brought that up. We've talked about it on previous episodes, but we didn't really dive deeper. So you got to figure out what your hourly rate is. And as you're listening, some of you, again, money freedom equals time freedom equals relationship freedom. Unfortunately,
I want to add on to that because it also
please.
Equals location freedom.
Location freedom. I like that. I'm going to add that too, location freedom.
You can live anywhere, especially today, right? What did COVID teach us? It was like, hold on a minute, I can COVID on the beach in Florida.
Yeah.
Right? It's totally different than COVIDing in Michigan.
Yeah, it is. Or COVIDing in Illinois. We had 696 days straight. My kids couldn't wear a mask up until yesterday at the time of this filming. I have a buddy that lives in Michigan, and he goes, my kids have been mask free since the beginning of the school year. So, so money freedom equals time freedom equals relationship freedom equals location freedom. Let's add that to it. And that's a great point. So again, you have to know what your hourly rate is. And if you're not where you need to be financially, then you got to focus on that. You got to right the ship, pay off debt, start being productive and making money. At that point, it's different for everybody. Gogo was exhausted with 52 sales in a year. She hit the tipping point. Everybody's got a different tipping point. For you, it might be 22 homes. For somebody else, it might be 102. But that's the key here. Some really great nuggets, Gogo. I appreciate it. We're going off on some topics that we weren't even intending, but it's just naturally great conversation. So I appreciate it.
Thank you. And then you also need to leverage, right? Like I don't check emails. I don't check messages. I couldn't tell you the last time I read a load of laundry when I walk my dog, right? So I look at everything. Then if it takes time, because does it take time to run a load of laundry? Yeah. Could I run it? Absolutely. Am I capable of running a load of laundry? Yes, I am. But is it time best spent? No. So now we have 2 house assistants. We have about 30 VAs. Everybody has like different parts of their job that they help make my life easier, right? But then this way, it's like you have 40 people doing one person's job in the same hour, right? Like how much more could you get done if you had 40 of you in the same hour?
That's a great point. That's a great point. And not only that, they're staying in their lane. They're specialists. They're really focused on a specific task that they're really good at, right? And so they can get a lot more done in that hour than somebody that's a jack of all trades, but maybe a master of none.
Yes. And then not only that, but this will free you up to do what you love. Because the saying is that you don't work a day in your life when you love what you do. So now I don't have to do anything that I don't enjoy anymore. Now I concentrate on things of my favorite thing now is coming up with great ideas and opening businesses. I opened like 4 businesses in the last 3 months. So it's just now it allows you to build. Because otherwise you're on that hamster wheel of like just the next deal, just the next deal, the next deal, just catching up and constantly in the phone, right? So now I don't have to do that anymore. You freed up time to think, you freed up time to build, right? All that is still functioning. It didn't go anywhere. I totally have that leg of my business and this leg of my business and this leg of my business. Is just not me that's doing every single step anymore.
So you teach your systems.
Yes.
So let's talk about that. So you held up your phone for those that aren't seeing the replay, but just listening, $1,298. So you're giving up at least a half hour of your time today. And I teach agents when I go on a listing appointment, the seller doesn't care about the awards in your office. They care about what's in it for them, right? And so value add. So as an agent, you got to think about all about them. How are you going to help them get to where they want to? So with that, let's transition to how you help agents get to where they want. You have a social media product and you have an agent attraction product. Talk to us a little bit about those, please.
Yeah. So it started out with, initially I was being made fun of truly back in 2011 when I started my Facebook page. People were like, what? Business page? Like what? So they used to make fun of me. We're like, oh, there's Gogo taking another selfie and there's Gogo, right? And then eventually it turned into when this whole social media thing started to becoming a thing, right? And I started pulling my weight in production and stuff. And people were like, the local agents were like, okay, so I guess it's working, right? Then they started asking me questions of like, what do you do? And why do you do that? And how do you do that? And hey, Gogo, can you explain me this very quick? So I couldn't go to like a local event or anywhere without people asking me almost like the same questions over and over again. I was like, oh my gosh, I felt like a broken record or parrot just repeating myself. And I'm like, I'm just going to record myself explaining all of these things. And then I was like, oh, I can turn that into a course, right? So now we have Gogo's Bootcamp social media, which was started out long time ago. I think 4 years ago now. And so the initial course was just like basics, right? Like the very basics of social media, what realtors need to know. Okay. But surprisingly, even, fast forward 4 years, the basics are still very important because I look at so many realtor accounts. I'm like, oh my gosh, you're doing this wrong. You're doing that wrong, right? So that's how the social media started out. And today it's a bunch of different modules and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of hours of video of everything that I know today on social media marketing. So that's the social media course. And that also includes systems and integrations and Google My Business and referrals and reviews and just everything that you need. Everything that I have, it's in that course. The next one, yeah, go ahead.
Real quick, before we go to the next one. So where can people find out more information on that?
Yeah, it's gogosbootcamp.com.
Okay, gogosbootcamp.com.
Yeah.
Okay, the next one.
Yeah, the next one. So I joined EXP like you did. When did you join?
I joined in August of 2021. So
you're recent. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, you're new here. So I joined in October of 2018. My anniversary is November 1st of 18. So I just hit my third year anniversary. I personally sponsored my 200 couple of days ago, agent in my front line in the company. So I do okay with that. I love it. I love this company and we change lives, right? So I feel like I have the honor of changing over 200 agents' lives. And again, I started getting asked questions. How do you do that? It's really not, agent attraction is simple, but it's not that, it's hard, right? And so agents would ask me the same questions, like, how did you do that? I was the first one to get to 40 agents wide in less than 6 months joining the company. So I was asking all of those questions. Again, everything to me leads back to social media, right? All roads lead to Rome. For me, all roads lead to social media marketing. And so that's how the agent attraction course came about, is pretty much recording myself again and all of my systems and processes and the mindset and the mentality and the objection handling and, the websites and everything that you need to build. So it's like a funnel. So you do this, and this, and it all feeds to the end results and they feed into your downline or organization. So that's the agent attraction course. We are building out the site where everything eventually is going to be on one website, is gogosbootcamp.com. But right now, it's going to be under gogosbootcamp.com/AA.
Okay.
AA for agent attraction.
For agent attraction. Okay.
Soon here, though, everything's going to be under gogosbootcamp.com.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
What platform, out of curiosity, do you use?
So we have Kajabi and ClickFunnels.
Okay. I had ClickFunnels, and we went over to WordPress for our designation trainings, which is 16 modules. For those of you listening, you can check out luxurylistingspecialist.com, luxurylistingspecialist.com, 10.5 hours. We have an option where there's over 275 templates, Word docs, PDFs, MP3s, MP4s, and we have a custom platform. But I had ClickFunnels before, and of course familiar with Kajabi. So appreciate you sharing that.
Yeah.
That's language talk for those of you listening. Don't worry about it. This is just Gogo and I talking here. So what's next? What's your big, hairy, audacious goal for 2022? I know you're moving. That's exciting. But from a business standpoint, you said you launched 4 businesses. If you want to share those, you certainly can. You said title company earlier.
Yeah. So we started our title company, and it's this up this close and running, which is very exciting. The one thing that I love mostly about it is depositing an EMD. You no longer have to like overnight it or drive it anywhere, right? You can literally, as you deposit a check into your bank account, you can take a picture and deposit your EMD. I was like, oh my gosh, I love it. Sure. We also have what's called Palm Agent. So I love numbers, right? And I love bottom line, and I'm here to serve my clients' best interest, which is their bottom line, right? But the only way I can do that is by having the systems in place. I don't want to have to be calculating that, like, hey, if I buy this house, what's my mortgage payment? What's my down payment? What's if I want to put 20% down? How much is that, right? So all of those things you can do a net sheet right off of an app with our title company's net sheet calculator. So seller's net sheet, buyer's net sheet, you can just plug in the numbers. I do that every single time I used to show a house, as even before we walk out on the door, to say, oh my gosh, Gogo, we love it. Let's offer 10,000 over. What would my mortgage payment be? Right? So I plug it right in there. Let's say for 189, 10,000 over, blah, 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 EMD 3,000, yada, yada, taxes, blah, 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 plug it in there and it spits out a number. So before we even walk out on the door, my client knows, yeah, I can afford that. Let's do it. Right? And same on the listing side, as we walk in, or as I'm sitting there, they're like, okay, Gogo, if we hiring you and this is what you charge, right? And this is what you think we can sell our house for, what's my bottom line? What am I getting? Right. And then that way, just plop, 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 boop, numbers, text it to you, email it, all that. So I love anything instant because it makes my life, easier. And I also like removing the liability from myself. So in case I forget to include the homeowners association fees, right? Like it calculates it. It reminds me as I'm entering the numbers of, oh yeah, shoot, $450 a month. Like, let's not forget that. Right. So those kind of things. So that's going to be fun of having technology and, having that arm of the business. Then we are starting. So as I mentioned, I have over 30 VAs, and it was a hard start at first. I have had to fire a few, right, until we got the rhythm of things, of how this works and how to hire them, where to find them, how to train them, the SOPs, and the language and the cultural differences and the time differences and all of those things. So now we have over 30 of them. And I built a course around that as well, because I get invited to a lot of the teams and groups and, public speaking events. And that's one of the biggest questions. And people don't seem to be able to figure it out without having to spend numerous hours on training and then having to fire them in 3 months because it's not working out. Right. So we built a whole system around that as well, where we literally going to have, so all of the VAs, if anybody listening decide to, use my company for hiring their VAs, they're literally come trained. So they have, not only they come trained for everything that my VAs do for me, but they will have already all of the SOPs. So they can always
that stands for standard of procedures for those that are listening. SOP, standard of procedure, and VA stands for virtual assistant. I want to make sure we don't, no, you're okay. This is terms that I know, but maybe someone listening doesn't.
Yeah, so virtual assistants usually they're from another country. You can also find virtual assistants from the US, but they cost way more than if you have virtual assistants from other countries. And so that's one of the other companies, because I believe that, time is money. So if you're spending your hourly rate somewhere, then you need to make the most that you possibly can. Pushing papers, answering to DMs, making your posts, things like that, that shouldn't be your job, right? That should not be your job. That stuff should be hired out.
So where can you find out more information on that company? Is that ready to be disclosed?
So if you just go to, if you follow me, I guess, on Gogo's Real Estate on Instagram, that's the only platform that I personally answer. So if you ever want to talk to me in person, it's Gogo's Real Estate on Instagram. And every other account, I have virtual assistants, including every email, every DM, you name it. I have VAs on there besides Instagram. So on Instagram is where I release all of the things as soon as they are ready. All the VAs are hired and in training right now.
Okay.
So I think we're about 2 weeks to a month out when our first round of VAs can be hired, but they're all called for. So we can, give me a few more months and then we should be able to it up for the public as well. And then the next one is a transaction coordination company. So that was my, not my first hire. It should have been my first hire, but it wasn't. You learn, right?
Sure.
So if you're an agent out there and you're still pushing your own papers, you're kidding yourself. Like even that hour that it takes you to upload a listing, if you took that hour and you spent it getting yourself another listing, what would be your commission? Average commission nationwide is $7,500. So you're literally pushing paper for an hour for $7,500. That's stupid, right? So a TC, which is a transaction coordinator, should be your very first hire, even before an assistant. I would start with a transaction coordinator, then I would start with a VA, then I would start with a physical assistant in person, because that would be your most expensive hire.
So do you have a resource on the transactional coordinator side, or is that too going to be released soon for the public?
Yes, that one is called Smooth TC, because the idea is to get smooth to the closing table, right? And that one's coming out soon. I think we're going to be ready with that one within 2 weeks. Awesome. But again, just last seconds, right? Like the last thing, looking a bank account with Stripe and those kind of things that have to be approved. But other than that, the system and the course is up and running. So you literally get your own TC. So what was important to me is, especially in the Team Gogo organization, we are in 40 different states. So I can't have a TC that specializes in California or specializes in Michigan, because that's not going to work, right? We need TCs that can work in every single state. So all of our TCs can work in all of the 50 states in the US. So you can hire them from absolutely anywhere. You can also hire them for your team, right? So if you have a downline like mine, where we are all over the place, you could potentially hire one TC that services 3 of your agents. So then removes that from their plate, right? So then they can go sell more real estate. So it's that's in the making. So that should be awesome. Here in a hot second. So that's VA transaction coordinator. Oh, and then I'm starting a public speaking company as well. So that was the 4th one for recently, but that's my own.
Public speaking, I tell agents all the time, the fastest way to become an expert, a leading authority in your market is authorship, writing a book, and number 2 is public speaking. So just some nuggets after nuggets after nuggets. We got Gogo Bethke here, and I really want to appreciate and thank you for your time and your knowledge. You're dropping a lot of truth bombs here. Again, one of the things that she shared with me that was that I wasn't expecting is just a reminder of the time, right? Calculating your time. She had it right down based on her financial goals, what her hourly rate is. And again, real simple to figure that out. Figure out how many weeks you work in a year. If it's 50 out of 52, take 50 times how many hours you work in a week. If it's 40, that's 2,000 hours in a year. And divide that by the amount of money you want to make, and that tells you your hourly rate. So Gogo, best way.
I actually do it a little bit different.
Yeah,
so
tell me how you do it.
Yeah, so that's not how much I want to make. That's how much I made last year. So I did it based on what money I collected in 2021 divided by the amount of hours I worked for it. And that's my hourly rate. This year, my hourly rate is going to be $4,200 an hour.
That's, man, oh man, that's good for you. So that's even a great point. Look at what you actually made, and that was last year. That's what your hourly, your most recent hourly rate is, and based on your goals, realistic goals, and for 2022, then that's your projection. So thank you for pointing it out.
Yeah.
Again, you're listening to the Luxury Listing Specialist podcast. I'm your host, Michael LaFido. Do me a favor, if you're getting value from today's podcast or previous podcast, leave us a like, leave us a review. We're on iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher. And don't forget, each Friday, we just launched a new series called Luxury Fridays. You can go to luxuryfridays.com. Any parting words of advice, encouragement to anybody?
I mean, I just want everybody to, let me do this one. So you are a 10X guy. I love Grant, but I also love Tony Robbins as well. I was recently at a Tony event, and there was a guy on the stage, and he was like, raise your hand if you feel like most of the time you live outside of the box, right? And I was so proud. I was like, me, like I'm the one, like I don't break the law, but I break the rules all the time, right? I kind of push it just a little bit. Sure. So I was so proud. I was like, me, I live outside of the box, right? I was very proud of it. The guy says, there is no box. The box that we all live in, we created it. You told yourself what you're capable of. You put that lid on the box and said, this is where I fit in, right? And then if you step a little bit outside of that, you feel like, oh my gosh, I'm living. But you created that box. Nobody told you what that box is. You put yourself in the box. So there's another way of saying it. Most of the people live in the cage with the doors wide open.
Man, that's powerful.
So make sure you live. Or another way saying, don't die with the music inside of you, right? You need to live. Every skill that God installed in you, you have to put it to test. You have to push it to the absolute maximum limit. So then one day, hopefully you make it to the pearly gates of heaven, then you can be like, you know what? I did okay. I think God's going to be proud of me, right? I think my parents are going to be proud of me. I think my friends are going to be proud. I think I'm proud of me, right? But in order to do that, you have to live with every single skill. You have to put the skills that God installed in you to a test.
I love that. That's so inspiring. And it reminds me of one of my favorite movies of all time, Shawshank Redemption. Get busy living or get busy dying. With that, I think that's a great segue into.
Christy said she watched it last night.
She did. Yes. I swear that was on TNT when I was in high school and college all the time. It was like, probably seen that movie, Shawshank Redemption. Oh, you haven't seen that?
No.
Oh, it's a slower movie, but it's got really deep meaning.
How do you spell it?
Shawshank.
Shawshank.
Morgan Freeman was in that.
Morgan Freeman, he's my favorite.
Oh,
you know
you'll love it.
I did it in life? You know, you want to know my end goal?
Yes.
Morgan Freeman is going to read me a book poolside.
Well,
I just want to listen to him talk.
I became a fan after watching Shawshank. It's a longer movie, but I think you'll like it. Hey guys, you've been an amazing audience. Michael LaFido, until next time, keep raising the bar, whatever it is. Again, we talk about inclusion. That means building others up, even people that maybe don't vote the same way. Again, it's amazing how much we have in common if you just turn the news off that wants to divide us and we have conversations with others. Until next time, my name is Michael LaFido, and continue to prove them wrong. Take care.